Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather and I am the owner and creator of Believe in Better Finances. So hopefully you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and many of you have maybe even started the weekend off. Here we are, last few days of November, and you're probably already starting to buy holiday gifts or other things like that with the Black Friday into Cyber Monday gift buying sales. So with that, one of the things I wanted to do today was cover a video on trying to help better plan for your gift buying needs. So with that, I'm going to turn the camera around in a little bit and show you something on a spreadsheet that I personally use and I've shared with clients to help make sure you make the most of your December budget without busting your budget. So it's really important that before you get out there and you really start to buy gifts for people and go kind of crazy, is to have a plan. Like anything else, when it comes to just your regular monthly budget, the same thing applies to Christmas time and when you're buying gifts for friends and loved ones. That's one thing that can really set you up to fail, especially when you're coming into a new year. You want to come into the new year not having to continue to pay for holiday gifts because you charged them on a credit card because you didn't plan on what you wanted to spend per person. So with that, you want to make a list and be sure and include everybody from your family, your friends, co-workers, maybe teachers, people at church that you want to buy for, anyone you plan to spend money on for this holiday season. You want to make sure and put them down and actually tag a dollar amount per person. So that helps you keep yourself in line with what you should be spending. That way you're least likely to overspend or resort to charging it to a credit card, which is what we want to avoid. So with that, I'm going to pause the video and turn it around to my screen so I can share with you my spreadsheet just to help give you an idea. You could do this same thing on a yellow pad, but if you're like me, I'm on a computer a lot. I'm very comfortable with Excel. You can input the numbers and have it calculate so you'll know how much you're going to need to spend, or if you need to make some adjustments on what you're going to spend on people. So give me just a second and I'll be right back. So as you can see here, it summarizes the overall amount of money you plan on spending, what you actually spent, and the difference. So as you go through these categories, it's going to tally it all up at the very top. So as you can see here, the first category is going to be your kids or your children. So in this case, I don't have kids. I just made up 3 names. So again, you can add in more or less children depending on what applies to your own situation. So in this case, maybe you had a son named John, a daughter named Jennifer, and a son named Ryan. What you would want to go ahead and do is plug in a dollar amount that you plan to spend per child. So again, this is going to be up to you to determine what you're comfortable and what you're able to spend per child. So in this case, I'm just going to use a round figure of $100 per child. And then as you'll see here, there's a column here that says actual. So this is on what you plan on spending, and this is how much you actually end up spending. So after you go out and shop, if you want to bring your receipts home, some people are really curious to know if they overspent or underspent. Obviously, the purpose of this is to make sure you don't overspend, but if you just want to kind of keep track of it, you can. So maybe for John, you spent $110 with tax. For Jennifer, you spent $95, and for Ryan, you spent an even $100. So what that'll do is that'll tell you the difference here on this column. So you overspent for John by $10, you saved $5 with Jennifer, and you broke even with Ryan. So, and again, at the top here, you'll see that it continues to calculate those totals. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll on down. So the next thing you'll want to consider is, again, depending on immediate family, extended family, you can add rows here. So if you have additional family members or fewer family members, I just put an example for my case. If I want to buy for my husband, my parents, in-laws, grandparents, brothers, sister-in-laws, aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, and nephews. Again, the list can go on. But again, the point being is if you plan to spend money on these people, make sure and list them out in the category that corresponds with. So in this case, family. So for example, I'm going to spend $50 on my husband, $50 for my parents and in-laws. Again, these are just made up numbers. It's going to be all dependent on, what your budget allows. So I'm just throwing some numbers in there. And then for this, maybe I spent $55 for my husband. And I'm just going to go through here and just plug in some numbers to kind of help you get the general idea of what this looks like. Okay, so depending on sales, tax, things like that. So again, it'll show you if you overspent, if you broke even, overspent, underspent, underspent, and the totals for that particular category. So you're kind of starting to get the idea of how this works. It's very simple. Then you're going to also want to make sure and account for any friends. Again, this is going to be dependent on your personal preference. Maybe y'all just go out to dinner and you don't buy for each other, so if that's the case, you don't have to worry about that. But you'll plug in numbers and can edit the names, add and delete rows depending on your situation. These X's that you can see here, what I do is I put an X, meaning that in this case, I bought and paid for Valerie's gift, but I still need to buy for the following people. So as you buy for them, you can just put an X, and that's just my way of kind of keeping track of who I've spent for, who I've spent money on and bought the gift, and who I need to still buy for. And then as you continue scrolling down the spreadsheet here, you'll notice I added coworkers. So again, if you or a spouse works outside the home, you want to make sure and account for any coworkers or bosses or things like that that you may or may not want to buy for. In my case, in the year past, we've always bought for people individually. But however, since my department has grown so much, we decided to do a white elephant gift exchange with a cap of up to $25 for each person participating. So in this case, I could rename this white elephant, and maybe I do my initial, and then if my husband's doing the same thing, let me see if I can type here and talk at the same time. And R for his initial, so I could delete this out and not include these columns, since those are the groups of coworkers we'd be buying for. So again, this is very flexible for each situation. And then last of all, you'll notice the final category I just put as other, because this is sort of a catch-all for any other person, couple or families that you might want to buy for that's outside of your own family and friends. So maybe it's people like your neighbors. Maybe you want to buy your neighbors some kind of gift set or something like that. Your nanny, if you have a person that watches your kids and you care a lot for and you want to buy them a gift. Your kids' teachers, people at church, just anything and everything that you might want to spend money on for the holidays. As far as Christmas gifts is concerned, you want to make sure and account for that. So let me scroll back up here real quick. So as you can see at the top, based on all the numbers that I plugged in, my planned amount of money I plan on spending for all those people is $700. And what I actually spent, again, based on just projections of, okay, if I got a receipt and I added in the amount with sales tax, shipping, whatever the case may be, I actually spent $715. So I went over $15 even. So again, this is just as an example. Obviously, what you want to do is make sure and look at your own budget for the month and spend what you can afford to spend. So if all you have is a couple $100, $500, $1,000, each person's situation is going to be different. So again, if you look at that and you go, oh, you know what, I can only afford to spend $500 this month, that's where you kind of go back to the list and go, okay, where can I trim? So maybe instead of buying mom and dad an individual gift, maybe you buy something for them together. So you could change this to dad and mom, and maybe you get them, I don't know, maybe a nice gift card to dinner and to a movie. So maybe overall you spend $75 instead of $100. So you could combine that and delete that row. So again, it's just getting creative, trying to figure out, you could do the same thing for grandparents, in-laws, and go from there and see how you can tweak. So that's all I have for you today. I hope you found that tutorial a little bit helpful, just to give you a glimpse at how I plan out my Christmas buying season. So with that, if you feel like you would like to use this spreadsheet, I'd be more than happy to send it to you. What you can do is please visit my website at www.believeinbetterfinances.com. Click on the contact page and be sure and send me a little comment with your email address, and I'll be sure and send it right over to you to start planning out your holiday shopping. So with that, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up and be sure and subscribe for future videos on all things money. Thanks so much. Merry Christmas.